Hello, I'm glad that you are viewing this video and I'm hoping you will find it to be of tremendous value. The topic, as you can see, is the value of differentiation, service as the core offering. And what it really centers around, a major thing for effective marketing strategy is to create a competitive advantage for your business. Now, a plurality of business owners, if asked, would likely say that they strive to provide the best possible service. And I'm sure that's the case. They probably do strive to do so. The problem is that most business owners don't know that there is actually a structured methodology to providing service that serves as a source of competitive differentiation. So they're expending time and resources that could be used in a more efficient, effective, structured manner. Real service as a core offering and a differentiating factor, one that serves as a source of competitive advantage, is actually a structured methodology. So I'm essentially going to walk you through 8 concepts or 8 steps that comprise the service as a core offering process so that it can become a differentiating factor and competitive advantage for your business. And it actually serves to effectively embed, not build, but embed a service methodology into your ongoing marketing strategy. Because great service needs to be more than just something that you offer. It needs, like I said, to be embedded into who you are as a business. It needs to be part of your purpose and vision and your culture. It needs to be a structured philosophy. And if you commit to doing it right, it can be a huge, huge competitive advantage. So we're going to talk about why is service a key source of potential differentiation, the characteristics that set services apart from physical goods, the service profit chain, how it guides marketing management decisions about service, elements of service quality and a gap analysis, the use of ServQual as a measure of service quality, the critical nature of customer touchpoints, and how touchpoints transfer into creating a service blueprint, how that can aid marketing managers or you as business owners, and how all of this serves as a foundation for effective customer relationship management, or CRM. So first of all, basically service is actually really a product in the sense that it represents a bundle of benefits that satisfy customer wants and needs in a non-physical form. So it really represents a bundle of intangible benefits because it actually represents a complete lasting experience. So consider a time when you have just had an incredible service experience, something that you've gone out of your way to share with somebody else. Whether it ended up being, a meal, a night out, it was an experience. So why is service a point of differentiation so critical? Well, because we have largely become a service economy. Goods account really for only 25% of GDP. So it means 75% of our GDP comes from delivering of services, and that's growing. 80% of U.S. jobs are service-oriented, compared to 55% in 1970, and that is growing as well. Service is definitely a key point of differentiation, an inimitable resource. And inimitable because your service methodology is unique to you. It is and should be born from your core business philosophy, a culture built by strong leadership, not management, but leadership. So it's inimitable because it's really difficult for somebody else, a competitor, to copy it. And it requires long-term thinking and a willingness to invest and be patient for results. The results are non-immediate. So there's long-term thinking because you need to be patient when you invest in a service methodology. The results are long-term, but they're well worth it because they're long-term, but they're sustainable results. So you need to think of service as a new, what's termed as dominant logic for marketing. And what that essentially means is because gone are the days when marketing focused on highlighting features and benefits of services or products. Now, this is not to say that it's not important to include this type of messaging in your marketing communication, because you probably offer excellent, services or products in your businesses. but that is not what really should drive your marketing communications. It should be part of it. The products and services or tangible goods actually serve as appliances or vehicles for service provision. They're the method by which you provide your service. And according to the Journal of Marketing, as you can see here, customers really don't buy goods or services per se. They buy what are called offerings. And the offerings render services that ultimately create value. And that's what marketing is all about. Marketing is about creating value for the customer. And it, again, there's a dominant logic that's different now, so that the shift in focus to services is a shift from the means and the producer perspective to the utilization and the customer perspective. So it's largely based on the customer perspective. Everything is designed around customer perceptions and expectations. And in some ways, the product does actually become secondary or incidental to the service it propagates. And this whole philosophy is consistent with being customer-centric in your business. It's a strategy that's internally driven, though. So let's talk about the characteristics of services. There are actually 4 distinct characteristics of service versus physical goods, and why it's important to know these characteristics and to be able to identify and articulate them is so that you can effectively build service, a service methodology. So first of all, there's an intangible factor to services. Services aren't something that you can hand to someone, so it needs to be memorable. And service characteristics are variable. A service experience cannot be separated from the provider. So it's all the more critical to make sure that that service experience is unparalleled, that it exceeds customer expectations. For instance, if you're a restaurant, you can have great food, but if the service experience is below customer expectations, when the customer thinks of you, they think of that service experience. You can't separate one from the other. And that actually goes again to inseparability. And that's why variability and inseparability are connected in this characteristics framework, because services are produced and consumed at the same time. Now I'll use the restaurant example again. When you are receiving your product or your service in the form of your meal, for instance, you're receiving the service at the same time. And then there's a perishability characteristic. So like intangibility, you can't hand someone service delivery to take with them and use it later. They experience it, it's over, and then how they remember it and carry it forward is what's really critical. So now I'm going to walk you through something called the service profit chain. And what the service profit chain is, it's a structure that you will use to build your service methodology. It actually reflects the culture of your business. It helps you to identify key links in a chain that, if you commit to building a strong chain, can result in increased revenue and profits. And also it will help to ensure that gaps in service don't exist and things don't quote unquote fall through the cracks. And your employees play a crucial role in the level of success because of the inseparable and variable nature of services, because you can't separate the service from the service provider. And it's really designed to help you, the business owner or manager, better understand these key links in the service delivery system that will ultimately drive loyalty and then revenue growth and increased profits. So here's basically what the service profit chain looks like. And it starts with internal service quality. How is your workplace designed? How are jobs or roles designed for each employee? Selecting and developing employees is really crucial here. How you train your employees, how you reward them and incentivize different things. For instance, if they receive a stellar survey back from a customer saying that they just exceeded customer expectations, how do you reward that? And then the tools that you give for serving customers, resources. It's really essential that you provide the necessary resources to make empower your employees to make sure that customer expectations aren't just being met, that they're being exceeded. And one example I like to offer of employees being empowered to make sure that customers are receiving the best possible service is, for instance, if you're on, just about everybody I know has had an experience like this when you're trying to rectify a customer service problem and you're either on the phone or you're at a store and the employee that you're dealing with has to stop or put you on hold and say, I need to talk to my manager. And this is something that you really never want to have happen in your business. Because first of all, what happens, there's a gap. There's a disengagement that happens when that employee has to leave and go and get a manager to rectify a problem. And you never want to disengage the customer or leave them thinking about this potentially bad experience that they're having. So it just allows them to think about it and make it embedded in their memory too much as a bad experience. So another example I like to use is the Ritz-Carlton Corporation, which I'm sure you've heard of Ritz-Carlton hotels. And one of the reasons that they're so widely recognized and why they have such a loyal customer base and why they're actually able to charge the room rates that they do is because they empower each and every employee, from management right down to housekeeping, to spend up to $1,500 to rectify any customer service issue. And there is an actual example of this taking place at the Ritz-Carlton in Chicago about 10 years ago, and a housekeeping representative for the Ritz-Carlton hotels found that a guest left behind a briefcase, which was fairly important because they needed it for a meeting that they were flying to. So this housekeeping representative was able to get on a plane and deliver this briefcase to this individual because whatever was in the briefcase was necessary for this business meeting that they were going to. And that's what empowerment is. They didn't have to find a manager. They were just empowered to be able to rectify this customer service experience. And believe me, that customer, that hotel guest, is still a loyal customer to this day. So empowerment also engages employees. It makes them feel like they have a stake in the business. And that actually goes directly, if you can see, internal service quality directly over to employee satisfaction. Satisfied employees are engaged employees. They are employees that have been recognized and rewarded for their good performance. And ultimately, those are the types of employees that factor into positive turnover rates. And they're productive employees. If you think about yourself in a role that you've previously had, if you feel disengaged in the business, if you don't feel like you have a stake in the game, or if you're really part of the business, you're not satisfied, and it's a place that you're not going to end up staying. You don't feel committed to your job, so you're less productive. But when you have these two factors, when you have employees that are committed to staying with the organization and who are productive employees, there creates external service value. That is what feeds directly into the customer service chain. This is where the results for customers come in. These satisfied, committed employees produce an environment where customers are going to have the best experience. The satisfied customer turns into a loyal customer, which is retention, repeat business, and referrals, or word of mouth. And that translates into growth in revenue and growth in profitability. The service profit chain actually links directly to organizational behavior, which is really a management methodology that is based upon culture and leadership. And I keep reiterating leadership because leadership is different than management. Managers have reports. Leaders have followers. Leaders inspire. And so it's very important for you to think of yourself as a leader in your business, not just a manager. And it does all begin with this, with internal marketing, treating employees like customers. And that comes from strong leadership and having good, strong core values that build and sustain a strong culture that acts as a cradle to that whole service profit chain. This is actually going to end part 1 of this presentation because there's a 15-minute time limit to my recording software. So I'm going to pick this up again in part 2.